Welcome to the Virtual College Exploration for All, sponsored by the Carolinas Association of Collegiate Registrars and Admission Officers and StriveScan. We thank you for joining us today. A few housekeeping announcements before we get started. You can use the Q&A button on your screen to type your questions to our presenters at any time. Your camera and microphone are off, so the panelists cannot see or hear you. This is just one of many different sessions happening this week as well as beyond that. So be sure to check out the full schedule at CACRAO, that's CACRAO.org. This presentation is being recorded and will be available within about a week at the same time or at the same website. It's CACRAO.org. I'd now like to turn it over to our presenters to begin the session.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Allison Orman, and on behalf of my fellow panelists and myself, we just want to welcome you to Keys to Success in the Admissions Process. We're so excited that you've chosen to spend your afternoon with us, and we hope that we're able to offer you some tips and tricks that will help you confidently and successfully navigate the college application process. But before we get into our actual keys to success, we're going to take just a quick minute to introduce ourselves and our roles. So once again, my name is Allison Orman, and I'm a first-year admissions coordinator at UNC Wilmington. Now I'm going to pass it off to my colleagues, starting with ECU.
Hey everyone, my name is Emily Schultz. I am one of the freshman admissions counselors at East Carolina University. I'm one of our regional counselors, so I am based in the Triangle area of North Carolina. I'm really excited that you joined us this afternoon for our presentation.
Hi everyone, my name is Lauren Grimes. I am an assistant director in the Office of Undergraduate Admissions at UNC Charlotte, and so excited to be spending some time with you guys this afternoon.
Hi everyone, my name is Whitney Belk and I'm one of the Assistant Directors of Admission at UNC Greensboro. I also serve as the Charlotte Regional Rep, so I'm based full-time in the Charlotte metro area in order to serve those students. So welcome to everyone.
All right, let's jump right in. So our first major key to success in the college application process is going to be getting connected. So no matter where you are in your high school phase or what part of the process you're in, it's important to know that there's a way to get connected at any point. Our first recommendation that you see right here is making sure that you have a college appropriate email account. So keep in mind that this needs to be an email account that you're going to check regularly, and it needs to look professional enough to provide to an admissions counselor or to a college. Another important and easy way to stay connected is by following schools of interest on social media. So each of the institutions represented here today work hard to keep their social media accounts engaging and up to date with the latest information. We know many of you are active on social media already, so this is a really easy way to go ahead and incorporate some of the college information that you're looking for into your newsfeed. So after you've created your college appropriate email address, the next thing you can go ahead and do is get signed up to join the mailing list or create a portal account at any of the schools that you're interested in. This is going to be the best way that you can ensure that you're receiving the latest and updated information. But it doesn't stop there. So not only do we want you to have a portal account, we want to hear from you and we want to engage with you as well. So during this time, many of us are offering virtual appointments with admissions counselors, or we would love to receive an email from you that just lets us know that you're interested or lets us know the questions that you might have during this time. So next up, Emily's going to talk about how many of these items are an important first step in demonstrating your interest in a college.
Thank you, Allison. So demonstrating interest is kind of a key phrase that a lot of colleges throw out that you might not be super familiar with what it actually means. It just shows that you might want to attend our institution, that we're on your radar, and that's a good way for us to stay connected. So going along with what a lot of Allison said, you really do want to contact your specific admissions counselor. All of us have specific assignments for students. Some colleges do it based on where you live, some do it based on last name. So you'll want to go on the website of the school just to find out who designated admissions counselor is. You can always contact any of us and we'll get you in touch with the right person, but it does start to help build that relationship once you're contacting us directly. We also encourage you to attend a virtual information session. This could be an information session that we put on through our universities, which typically you can sign up for on our websites or through your high school. It is now recruitment season, so we're busy virtually visiting your high schools, and we want to talk with you in whatever way works best for you. And we are pretty flexible about the days and times of that. And you can check your high school calendar, contact your school counselor, just to see when we'll be virtually visiting with you. Also, filling out an inquiry form or creating a portal account on our websites is a great way to say, hey, I'm interested. Some schools really do use demonstrated interest in the decision-making process. Some just like to see that you are somewhat interested in us. We also encourage you to take a tour, and that's regardless of, if you're super interested or just want to visit. Some schools are resuming in-person tours. I know we're trying to at ECU. Some other places may allow self-guided tours, so that maybe you can go visit campus, but there aren't going to be any official tour guides. And then we have the virtual tour option that many schools are doing. And just depending on where you live, that might be a better option for you depending on the schools that you're looking for. But those are all ways that you can kind of demonstrate interest in the schools that you're looking at and show us that you want to attend.
Great, thank you, Emily. And another important part of the process is really knowing kind of the deadlines and knowing the differences in decision types. So colleges do have different deadlines. That's something that as you've probably started researching different institutions and application deadlines, you have noticed that. There may be some common deadlines between some institutions, but again, don't assume that when one college tells you to apply that applies to every institution. I know with a lot of the UNC system schools, some are October 15th, some are November 1st, some are December 1st. So you want to make sure that you have the opportunity to get those checked out. Another important part of that process is really have a good system to track all of those deadlines. Sometimes deadlines change. We have different application deadlines, again, for that process, but then even after the application deadlines, there are even more deadlines to follow, such as scholarship deadlines, financial aid deadlines, enrollment deposit deadlines, housing deadlines. So again, just because there's, one application deadline doesn't mean that there aren't more to come. So again, just have a good system, whatever works for you, whether it's a paper calendar, spreadsheet, a smartphone app, to really track and remind you of those specific deadlines. Another thing is that, again, you may want to check those deadlines and see if that refers to submission dates, postmark dates, as far as when transcripts are sent from your school. And again, some are going to refer to when they actually need to receive it. So with all that being said, knowing the deadline is super important, and always to be safe. Submit your applications prior to the deadline to allow for processing time, to allow for delivery time, because even if it's electronic, schools may need to download from different systems. So again, just make sure that you submit prior to the deadline. Don't wait until the night before, because we want to make sure that we have everything on time and that we can get your information prior to the deadline. And with these specific decision dates, I wanted to go over some of these quickly as well. As you're starting to apply to different institutions, you may start seeing these different terms, and we want to make sure that students have kind of some clarification again with what that looks like, because likely as you're researching deadlines, you're going to see different deadlines for certain decision types. So schools do have different opportunities for those. Early decision is a term that you may see, and this is going to be a binding agreement between you and a college. This essentially says that you are my first choice institution. If I am admitted to your school, I am 100% going to enroll, and I'm willing to withdraw all my applications from other institutions. It is important to note, though, not every school offers an early decision opportunity for students. A lot of times it may be private institutions that do offer that, so keep that in mind, but know that is a binding agreement. You'll notice that a lot of schools do have an early action, which is typically the most common that you'll see. It is non-binding. So you're kind of indicating that this college, I'm super interested in it. I want to apply early, I want to find out early, but you're not binding to that specific institution. You still have until May 1st to confirm your enrollment and say that you choose that specific institution. There are also regular decision deadlines. This typically gives you a little bit more time and a later deadline to submit your application. And typically those can run anywhere between December to early March. At this point in the process, again, with applying early, it's going to be important. Go ahead and apply those early deadlines. Make sure you select those at this point, since we're not kind of in that later time yet. And then also with rolling admission, some schools do offer rolling admission as well. And this means that as you apply and as universities receive your specific application materials, they're going to go ahead and review it when they get it, and then they'll go ahead and let you know. So instead of waiting to a particular deadline, you can go ahead, send those materials, and they'll kind of read them and roll them out as they come in. So keep that in mind, and if you have any questions about the specific decision types for a specific institution or university, always check out the websites and reach out to the specific admissions counselor as well. And take a picture, sorry, go back 1 second, Lauren. I was gonna say, I'm gonna give y'all a second to take a picture if you wanna take a picture of this, just because this is super important and we know that it gets really tricky. All right.
So once you've decided where you're going to apply and the deadlines of your schools, a really crucial part is writing your college essay. So the first thing that you'll want to do is review the essay prompts. These could be the same for all of the schools that you're applying to, or could be very different. So you want to see what the prompts are, how many essays are required versus recommended for each of the schools that you're interested in. Typically, the Common App releases their essay prompts in the summer before a student's senior year, and that's a great time to start working on that essay. We want you to make it personal. We'll get your academic record through your transcript, through test scores if they are required, depending on seniors, juniors, all of that, and we'll get into test scores in just a minute. But we really want to know about you as a person. A lot of the times the questions will be about personal challenges or beliefs, and we see all of your academic record, we see your extracurricular activities, and we want to know who you are and what makes you special, why you want to come to our institution. And in addition to that, we want you to be authentic. I've seen essays where students try to be funny or try to talk a certain way, or replace a word with a word that sounds more sophisticated, but it doesn't really fit in with the sentence at all. And so we want you to be yourself and use your own voice in the essay writing process. We typically know if it's not written by an entry-level college student, and we want you to take your time. So something I recommend with the essay is start it in either a Word document or a Google Doc. Start it, work on it a little bit, leave, come back to it. Do not write your essay the night before the application is due, because it'll stress you out. It'll stress out your parents, your counselors, your teachers, whoever you're asking to proofread it, and it doesn't do you any good. So we do encourage you to take your time with your essays. And again, proofread it. This is the most important thing that you can do with your essay. Have it where you read it aloud. You'll see what might sound a little bit weird. If there's a grammatical error, spelling, all of that is really important when you proofread. I would also say have someone who is qualified read over that. And what I mean is typically a parent or guardian, a teacher, or a counselor, someone who's familiar with the college application process. You guys can even ask your admissions counselor. Sometimes we'll get requests to read essays before they're submitted, and I'm perfectly fine doing that. Some schools may not, but the worst answer you can get is no if they don't want to read it, but that's always something that you can do. Another quick tidbit about that, admissions counselors know that you use the same essay for other schools. It's okay. We were all students once. Definitely just make sure, again, proofread in case you have another school's name. It's happened to all of us, I think, in our review process of essays where we're reading an essay and they mention another school. That's a little bit off-putting and not the best way to show that you're college ready. So definitely just have another set of eyes look at that. That's really all on essay writing.
Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about test option. I know we've had a couple questions about that already. So the UNC system has approved a one-year waiver for test scores. So essentially this means that any student who is applying for a 2021 term for the fall, or excuse me, for the spring, for the summer, or for the fall, test scores are optional as a part of the process. This is something that test scores are going, you can still submit them. That's something that they are going to be used kind of as secondary information to benefit the student, but low scores are not going to be used to hurt the student. So we typically, it's going to be kind of up to you if you think that that is something that you want to do. Remember to still, look at a school's average just to kind of see, to keep that in mind and become familiar with those as far as the 50%, middle 50% and the averages. But know that this year for the fall 2021 term and any of the 2021 applicants, these are going to be optional for students. I typically do, and we all had kind of spoke about this too, go ahead and reach out specifically to the individual schools to see how that is going to be considered for additional opportunities outside of the application process as well. See if it's going to be something that the school still recommends sending them due to scholarship purposes or for the honors college opportunities or admission into specific programs. So again, knowing that overall as the UNC system, they are optional for the 2021 applicants, but still recommend reaching out to the individual schools for secondary materials like scholarships and honors colleges as well.
All right, so Whitney mentioned earlier that knowing your deadlines for the application process is super important. And we wanted to include some information about how to offset the cost of college in this presentation as well, because ultimately your admissions application deadline could impact your timeline for receiving aid. And ultimately, financial aid, scholarships are a great way to offset the costs of college. So first and foremost, you're going to want to make sure that you are aware of the Fafsa, which is the free application for federal student aid. It is completely free to complete the Fafsa. We encourage all of our students during their senior year to complete the Fafsa. Even if you don't think you'll receive anything from it, it doesn't hurt at all to go ahead and complete that Fafsa. Some scholarships may require that you have a Fafsa on file to be eligible. Excuse me. So definitely make sure you are aware that the Fafsa is a thing, and it's actually going to open soon for my seniors in the room. So in about 2 weeks, the Fafsa is going to open, and we encourage you to go ahead and complete the Fafsa early. October 1st of a student senior year is when it will open, and you can actually add as many schools to the Fafsa as you want to. So if you're applying to a couple of different schools and you're not sure where exactly you want to go ahead and include all of those schools' codes on the Fafsa so that you have your information sent to them. Typically, your financial aid at an institution is not processed until you're admitted, but that could vary by school. So if you go ahead and complete that process now, you'll ensure that they do have your information. And then typically once you are admitted to an institution, your financial aid would then be processed. In addition to financial aid, scholarships are a great opportunity to offset that cost of attendance. And first, knowing the different types of scholarships. So we have institutional scholarships. That's going to be where it's money given to a student by the institution that you're attending. So we have merit-based scholarships. We have need-based scholarships. So that's maybe looking at your academic profile versus your financial need. So there are multiple of those opportunities at every institution. And then there's also external scholarships. So we encourage students to go seek scholarship opportunities in their community through their high school, maybe through a parent or relative's job. There's just tons of scholarships out there, and you just have to take kind of initiative in finding those. With that, you want to know what the deadlines are and what the process looks like at each institution that you're interested in. And to be very honest, it could look very, very different at each institution. So at some schools, you are automatically considered for scholarships with an admissions application. At others, you actually might have to apply for scholarships. So knowing if it's an automatic consideration or if you need to take a next step, and then does that impact your timeline for your admissions application being submitted? Is there different timelines for merit-based versus need-based scholarships? Just making sure that you're aware of all of that and the different processes at each institution.
All right, so as we start to round out our presentation, we all came together and just wanted to summarize a few of our most important do's and don'ts in the college application process. So our most important do is to start early. We've referenced this a couple times so far in the presentation, whether it's talking about your college application or the financial aid process. But once senior year starts, we know that you're all busy with everything that comes along with finishing out high school and preparing to go to college. So when you start to think about those things, once again, like college applications, FAFSA, scholarship applications, our best and most important piece of advice, once again, is to just start that process early. So along with this, we also recommend creating a timeline of events or a to-do list. Whitney talked a little bit about each institution operating off of different deadlines, and depending on how many schools you're applying to, this can definitely be a lot of information to keep up with. So make sure that you're condensing those into a list or a timeline that's really quick and easy to access for you. Then lastly, as far as one of our biggest tips, we want to make sure we're reminding you to check your email regularly. This is really important, as during this time, colleges are sending out many tips and reminders about deadlines or things that we want you to be working on or thinking about. Many of us are also inviting you to special events right now, so you might have gotten some invitations for private visits or virtual open house events. And we also might be reaching out to you to let you know what application items we're missing. So make it a habit. I would definitely say check your email at least once a day. You might want to check it even more than that, but I think if you just check it at least once a day, then you're going to be covered and make sure that you're not missing any important information. So kind of going off of this point, one of our biggest don'ts is to not assume that colleges have all your information once you hit submit. So it's really important that you're monitoring your portal account or your email just to be aware of what we might be missing or waiting on to complete your application. So this is when it is an easy time to reach out exactly to your admissions counselor. If you want to reach out specifically to me, Lauren, Emily, or Whitney, you can ask us. I submitted the application and I just want to make sure you have everything. We would love to help you and make sure that we have everything we need because oftentimes that affects when your application is able to be reviewed. So if you want to receive your decision early or on time, make sure that your application is complete so that we can move forward with the review process. Emily also talked about the importance of demonstrated interest. And so going off of that, it's definitely important for colleges, for you just not to wait for colleges to reach out to you. So if you have a school that you're interested in, all of us agreed that, we love to hear from those students. So don't wait for us to send you an email or for you to, visit our area. Reach out to us and get connected and start to do your research. And then lastly, one of our biggest don'ts is to not believe everything you hear. So it is definitely important to talk to your family and your friends when you're considering different colleges or navigating this process. It's important to hear about different experiences people have or different recommendations that they have for you based on how well they know you and what they think might be a good fit for you. But at the end of the day, it's really important to do your own research, reach out to schools directly, and not just believe everything you hear. So we want you to remember to be active in your college search process.
All right, the last thing we want to leave you guys with today is just encouraging you to own the process for yourself. You've got this. It's a lot. It can be overwhelming, but know that we are here to help. And we want to help you. That's why we come into work every day, is to help students succeed and ultimately achieve the success of going to college. So know that we're here to help, know that we can answer any questions for you as you navigate this process. And it's okay to reach out and ask. And if you're confused with deadlines or what something means, know that we're here to provide that support. But we really want to hear from you as the student. We get a lot of questions from parents. We get a lot of meeting requests or emails from relatives or other kind of support systems that students have. But we as college counselors want to hear from the student. We want to know what you're thinking. We want to know the questions that you truly have. And that's going to go a really long way in taking that initiative and reaching out for yourself. We also encourage you to find the right fit for you. Every institution is great. Every institution has a lot to offer. They can be different. And so finding the differences between the institutions is super important. By reaching out to your counselor, by taking a virtual visit or an in-person visit. That's how you're going to learn those differences. What do you want to major in? Does the schools that you're looking at even offer that major? And if multiple schools offer the major, where are they located? Are they a school of 3,000 students or 30,000 students? What are the extracurricular opportunities offered at that school? What's the community like? Is it a small school feel? Is it in a big city? All of those things are something we want you guys to consider, and know that what you want out of this might look different than what your best friend wants or what your older brother or younger or older sister might have wanted. So know that we just encourage you to be true to yourself in this process and really make it the best opportunity that you can for yourself.
All right, so really quick, this is a good opportunity again to get out your phones if you want to take a picture of this slide. This is our direct contact information. So once again, just a reminder of the schools that we represent, and then our direct email and phone number. So if you have any specific questions regarding the institution where we work, you can feel free to reach out to us, and we're happy to help you get connected and get started in your process. And then I think at this point, we're ready to go ahead and get into our Q&A. So I'm going to start to go through the questions. I think we have a couple already in the Q&A box, and we'll get started with answering these. So one question that we have, our first one, do you look at deadlines starting in junior or senior year? So when is it important to start thinking about those deadlines?
Yeah, I can.
Go ahead, Whitney.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, so with the deadlines, that's something that typically you're going to apply starting the fall of your senior year. So you can go ahead to your junior year and start looking up maybe what those deadlines are, just so you're prepared. But when you're taking into consideration those deadlines, you're going to apply fall of your senior year. So make sure that you are taking a look at those during that senior year time.
Okay, this next one, are you currently offering in-person or on-campus tours at this time?
ECU is offering on-campus tours. You can just sign up on our website. They are much smaller than a typical campus tour would be at ECU, and masks are required and social distancing protocol is enforced. So it is perfectly safe, and all the information is on the website as well.
And we're still offering virtual tours at this time. I'm hoping to open up those opportunities for in-person soon, but I'm still offering virtual appointments and tours at this time each day.
Same with UNC Charlotte, and just a word of advice, regardless of even if the schools that you're interested in aren't on this call, sign up for their communication list. If you're on their email, this is the best way that you're going to be notified about those in-person tour opportunities or what virtual experiences that school has.
And then same with UNCW, we are offering virtual opportunities right now, and then also encouraging self-guided tours as well. This next question, so since scores are not required this year, what are some other items that you might look at for considering if you're going to accept a student? So things like extracurricular activities, essays, etc. Just maybe some more information on those things.
Yeah, that's a great question. So some of those optional items that you could also include as part of kind of that holistic review would include a personal statement. You can submit recommendation letters, a resume if you want to share kind of your extracurricular activities above and beyond maybe what's available to put in the application. You can do so. Anything that's going to speak to who you are as a person is the information that we're going to want to know.
Okay, when should you reach out to colleges you're interested in, as in which year of high school they specified that?
I say it's never too early to start reaching out. Really, your junior year is when you really should start getting your list together, start doing research. College Board is a really good search on their website on like, I want to look at schools in North Carolina with a nursing major. And then it will show you all the schools and you can kind of start doing your research from there. You can always start looking sooner, but definitely if you're looking at schools in your senior year of high school, you might feel very overwhelmed. So starting to look in your junior year is definitely helpful.
Okay, is it better to take AP courses or dual enrollment courses since they are awarded the same rigor weight in high school? I can take this one. So at UNC Wilmington, we view dual enrollment and AP in the same light. So we view them as equally rigorous. Really the only difference and thing to consider, I would say, is how that credit comes over. So when you take an AP course, you're gonna have to take an AP exam and pass that AP exam or score a certain score on that exam in order to get credit at an institution. However, when you take a dual enrollment course at, let's say, a community college, the credit that you transfer over is based on the grade that you earn in that course. So I would say if you feel confident in test taking and your AP courses, you feel prepared, then the AP route is fine for you to continue. But if you maybe don't feel as confident in standardized testing and want to avoid having that credit hinge on just one single score, then dual enrollment might be something to look into. Another thing to consider would maybe be the type of high school that you attend. So if you don't have a wide selection of AP courses offered and you want to take more college level courses, I would also recommend at that point maybe looking to your local community college to see what opportunities you can find there. We do have another question related to test optional. So will any of you be test optional just for this year or in the future?
So for right now, it's for 2021 applicants only. So for students who are applying for the spring 2021 term, summer 2021, or fall 2021. So again, this is a 1-year waiver for the UNC system. So moving forward, it is our impression that we will require test scores after to the 2021 applicants.
And just to go off of that, that's just for public schools in North Carolina. So if you're looking to go out of state or looking at other institutions, go on their website or again, contact the admissions counselor listed for you because their policy might be a little bit different.
Yep, and that, as Emily mentioned, that's just for the UNC system, the North Carolina public school system. So the 16 institutions that fall within that UNC system. And if you have questions about which schools are in that, you're welcome to Google that. And there's a great resource on their website to see.
So we did have a couple questions about residency. So can one of you maybe just talk briefly about residency as a part of the application process? Someone was wondering if they have to have their residency process completed by the time they apply and how that is kind of incorporated into the application process.
Yeah, I can take that. Great question. So if you are declaring or if you are considering yourself as a North Carolina resident, you will be required to complete a residency application as part of the admissions process. Specifically for any UNC system school, you only have to complete that process once, but you'll have to complete the residency application. Typically, it's an external link that you'll see within the application within the admissions application, and you'll receive what's called an RCN number, residency certification number, and that is what you will provide to all of the UNC system schools that you're applying for. But that is something that you'll want to certainly make sure that you do if you are declaring in-state residency. You have some time. It's not required as part of the admissions application. So if you have some quirky things that you need to get worked out, or you aren't able to do it at the time of applying, you can always do that a little bit later too. Really, when that's going to come into play is when you choose to enroll at an institution and being billed for your classes. But even earlier than that, in terms of potentially scholarship opportunities, how your financial aid is processed, all of that's going to be, a little bit based on your residency classification as well.
We do have a couple questions related specifically to extracurriculars. So some people were wondering what part of the, or how considered are extracurriculars in the application process? And then also maybe can any of you speak to kind of the impact on COVID and how that's affected maybe extracurricular opportunities, or what someone could maybe do in supplement of not having some of the same experiences?
Yeah, I can take that. So students have the opportunity to list all of their activities and extracurricular involvement as a part of their application process. So typically, whether you're applying through, you'll hear the term common application that a lot of schools are a part of. That's kind of a international college application that students have the opportunity to apply to multiple different institutions using one application. On that common application, you have the opportunity to list your involvement, what years you were involved in, give kind of a description of that. On a lot of school-specific portals and applications as well, they provide students the opportunity to list involvement that they've had inside and outside of school. We do, in some schools, do recommend maybe submitting a resume just to kind of have that all specifically in a specific place. But again, that's going to be something you'll want to reach out to institutions and make sure that that is you're putting important information that really is going to help us know about who you are. Again, with that involvement too, we know that that has been affected due to COVID and extracurricular activities, whether it's sports, community service, all of that. That's something that we as institutions and as application reviewers and admissions counselors, we are taking that all into consideration. But we still encourage students for opportunities that are available either virtually and just kind of do what you can. Again, we know that students are in a unique situation, and whereas before we may have looked at kind of the years that students were involved and what they were involved in and for how long, we know that that was kind of cut short for you all. So again, make sure that you just kind of communicate and list how you were able to impact while those things were in person, and then also maybe how you have continued to do any of that virtually in the best way that you can.
Yeah, great answer, Whitney. There is a new question on the Common App this year as well that asks you specifically, how have you been impacted by COVID, or has it affected you educationally in any way? So make sure that if you do have concerns about things that you weren't able to do, or access to technology or different things like that, make sure that you let us know, because that's going to be an important part of our review process this year, is because we want to make sure we're considering all the challenges and things that have shifted and changed this year. So we did have one great question about kind of going into college and knowing maybe what you want to major in, or maybe going in undecided, and how does that kind of process generally work in college? So if you don't know what you want to study, is that a problem, or kind of what resources maybe are in place to help students with that academic planning?
I'll take that one. So at UNC Charlotte, we actually do have a pathway for undeclared students. So it's not looked at any different than a student that actually selects a major on an application. It just means that you're not sure what you want to study, and that's totally okay. You don't have to know that. It's great. You're always able to get into classes a little bit earlier as you kind of figure out what it is you want to study. But at certain schools, they may have a specific pathway for undeclared students. You may be housed in a specific academic college for a certain amount of time until you figure out what it is you want to major in. But a lot of schools that do offer that pathway for undeclared students and allow students to come in undeclared will provide resources such as an academic advisor that are kind of trained across all of the programs to figure out what it is you want to study and then how to navigate actually declaring that specific major. So again, that pathway could look different at every institution, but I think we are all very much in agreement that you don't have to know what you want to study at the time of applying to your institutions, and you can usually change your major at a later time as well. So if you apply as one thing, I would say it just depends. It does vary by school as to if you're admitted directly into your program or admitted to the university overall. So just check with your specific admissions counselor on that process at the schools that you're interested in.
Perfect answer, Lauren. We do have a couple questions about scholarships and just financial aid. And I do just want to make a general note that a lot of these processes are very different for each of our institutions. So on our slide that we provided, we tried to keep it general and come to an agreement about the most important things that are a part of that process. But I've gotten some questions about merit scholarships or how to navigate that process. And that's just going to be a little bit specific for each school. So if you are interested in any of the 4 schools represented today, send us an email and we're happy to follow up and either meet with you virtually or reply through email to kind of talk through how those processes might look at our institution. I do think we should spend just a couple minutes maybe going back to test optional. So we have a few questions related to that. One that popped up a couple times is, how does a student know if they should submit a test score for it to be considered? And then there was also a question just in regards to what happens if you're not a good test taker, but you're an A student and do a lot of extracurriculars. So maybe just kind of talking through, once again, that test optional and just how to navigate that new policy.
Yeah, I would just say for that, I know not every school is doing it the same way, but for ECU, we are not looking at test scores for 2021 applicants at all. It doesn't hurt you to submit a test score. There are some possible scholarships that may still require them, but it's not going to hurt you or really help you to submit a test score. But that's going to look so different at different institutions. So you definitely want to look at what that is like. But I do get the question all the time, especially for juniors and sophomores. I'm not a good test taker. What should I do? The best thing that you can do for yourself is, well, there's a couple things really that you can do, but take the test more than once or take the SAT once and the ACT once. Some students just find that they like one test better than the other. And for North Carolina students, in your junior year, you all get the ACT for free, and really take that test seriously because that might be the only test that you take or have to take, and it's for free, which is really nice for North Carolina public school students. So that's a really good way to kind of gauge and see how well you're doing on those SAT or ACT, and there's a lot of free resources out there as well for students who are looking at, being a better test taker. And then we also will consider your high school GPA. That's really important. Your essay, extracurriculars, all of that are used in the review process.
Perfect. I think we have just 1 or 2 more minutes left. So I know there are still some questions that we're not going to get to. And once again, maybe Lauren, if you can go back to the contact slide. So if you had a question that we didn't get to, we want to answer it. So if you can reach out to us, any of us are happy to answer any of these questions. Maybe in the last minute, one of the other things I noticed that popped up were questions about maybe some of the most popular majors at each of our schools. So maybe we'll just kind of round out by each going through and maybe talking about our top 3 to 5 or so different majors. But I can start with UNCW. Some top majors for us are going to be marine biology, film studies, business, education, and nursing.
Yeah, for UNC Greensboro, our most popular majors are kind of a range as well: nursing, business, administration, Undecided is typically in our top 10 most popular majors. A lot of the performing arts related areas as well, and then kinesiology.
Some of our more unique majors at UNC Charlotte would be computer science, engineering, architecture, business, nursing. Those are some top and most unique.
I know we're running out of time, so ECU nursing is one of our most popular: business, education, engineering, and biology and psychology to kind of round those out.
All right. So this concludes the session for this hour block. We want to thank you for attending and joining this particular session. After you close your window, there should be a quick survey with 4 questions included on it. We encourage you to sign up for more sessions, which can be found at CACRAO's website, once again, CACRAO.org. Finally, as mentioned, recording of this particular session will be available, and it will be housed on the CACRAO's main website, and I would at least give it a week or so for that item to be uploaded. Thank you again for joining. Take care and have a wonderful day.